Hello and welcome. So, have you grown spiritually and you've done a lot of inner alchemy or neutralizing the triggers and trying to get to better mindsets, doing the mantras, all the things, right? And then you get down to, I'm still cranky or I'm still irrationally triggered over stupid stuff. And you're just like, this is like ridiculous. And this is a roadblock a lot of us hit because I think that what we do in our expansion and trying to move up the emotional consciousness scale is we, on a personal level, we start to recognize our wounding, our triggers. Oh man, you're tripping. Start to re-narrate things so that we're not so reactive and we're learning to respond in a healthy way. But there's a little bit of something else going on here, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so what do I mean that there's something else going on here? So I don't know if you've all heard about this term, but it's called ancestral karma. Or we could even go so far as to say genetically we repeat the patterns of our ancestors. Or we could even look at the new studies surrounding epigenetics. And that is where we can't go eternally into ourselves and shift things. And then science is showing that we're changing our genetics. So that's key to what this video is about, because the reason we are getting still triggered over minor things is there are things stuck in our genetics, our DNA, our code, our ancestry that wouldn't even make sense right now to our logical mind. And so that's why this video is titled, You Are Never Upset for the Reason You Think You Are. Okay, so I think we can understand. Seems pretty point blank understandable. We're triggered. We're upset, we're sad, we're this, we're that. And the reason we think or we attach to it is based in our current reality. But I'm here to tell you, I mean, this isn't woo-woo spiritual stuff here or metaphysics only. Science is showing this as well. What our generations have experienced lives in us. And so then that just logically makes sense. We're not upset for the reason we think we are. Okay, and I'm really using a concept. I just got to give a shout out to A Course in Miracles, because this is one of the teachings, that we are not upset for the reason we think we are. And so I just want to make that clear. I did take that term from that, but we're going to look at it a little differently in a way that hopefully we can understand. So we're going to do that through some examples. So, one happened to me today, and it kind of instigated me wanting to make this video. I have a pen, and it's unfortunate because I don't have it right here, but it's a really nice pen. I really love it. I don't know if some of you are pen bougie like me, but you get the right fine tip pen that just smoothly goes across the paper, and you're just like, yes, this is my shit. And I'm writing with my pen today, making some notes on some videos, and I'm like, oh, I felt it inside me. I started to get triggered because I was scribbling out obsessively some things I didn't want to touch on. And I felt some kind of trigger in me. And I'm like, wait, what's this? Why am I feeling irrationally triggered over this? And then I realized I'm never upset for the reason I think I am. I studied Course in Miracles for about 15 years. So, and I'm like, so what am I upset about? And then I went into the feeling. And that's what I always teach. Don't think too much. Don't act like, oh, I better get a different pen. I don't want to use my favorite pen to scribble. Just go into the feeling and start to let it talk to you. And what I had gotten, and so don't think I'm weird, y'all, but we're going to use this story as an example, was that back in the days, they would get bottles of ink and they would have a pen that they dip into it. And so it was like liquid gold to somebody in my ancestry. And so if somebody misused the gold, or if they were obsessively using it to scribble or anything like that, it was like, no, how dare you? We're almost out of ink. I'm sure you can imagine the rest of the dialogue. And so imagine me as a small child in that lifetime and just experiencing that and being like, oh, I have to be really careful with the ink. Oh, am I using too much ink? And there's a fear that got stuck in our genetics over freaking ink. Ink pens nowadays, dime a dozen. Irrational. So really think about what I was talking about in the beginning. Are we being triggered over irrational stuff? Yes. It's valid, yeah. And the worst thing that we could do is not only beat ourselves up about it, but also give a lot of merit or credibility to the people that are like, oh, you're tripping, relax. They don't know what my internal war is. They don't know what's in my genetic code. We just don't know. So we have to be a little more unconditional. We don't understand. Another thing Jesus says in Course in Miracles is we don't perceive our own best interest, much less somebody else's. And so it is in the best interest that I don't just stifle that and relax. I actually go into it and question it and talk to it. What the heck is going on? It's a freaking ink pen. Let me scribble my ass off it, But so let's not go in those knee-jerk reactions of, oh, I'm cranky, I need to chill out, or oh, I'm toxic, why am I doing this, or any of that. Question it. Go into it. Don't go externally. Don't. See, the pen was easy too, because there was nobody externally like stealing my pen that I could jap out on or anything. It was literally a whole thing that I went through sitting on my couch. So that was an easy one. So let's go to a bigger one. I have a real hard time with injustice. Really hard time. And for a long time, I blamed it on the city I was born into. I wasn't born into it. We moved to the suburbs, and that suburb is the not only demise of me, but also the greatest awakening for me. And let's just use this example. In my mind still, I think it is one of the most grimiest places on earth. Truly. But I say that to you from a place of very strong conviction about it, but I'm not emotionally charged up about it. It's not making me cranky, irritable, or triggered, or upset, or wanting to fight for the injustice there, because it is an injustice. But for a majority of my awakening, I wanted to point out the injustices there. I wanted to really go hard on the government there. And I realized that it was taking me out. It was consistently triggering me, okay? And so what was happening is I was falling into the collective. So we have our personal karmas, we have our ancestral karmas, and then we have our collective karmas. And so what was happening is, because I was part of that collective, and there's a lot of people that can see as we expand what's going on there with the governmental institution, that it's an injustice. And so unaware, unawake, reactionary people that are not healing their emotional reactions and patterns are very vocal and, let's just use the word, toxic about it, which is not going to get us anywhere, by the way. I think we're all realizing that as we go. We have to be healthy, responsive, pointed out from that place, not from the place of, it's horrible, it's an injustice, beating the same drum that we've always beaten, but from a solution-oriented, responsive place of healthy. And so that was my biggest awakening, because I was like, I'm falling into this collective crap, and it's not serving us. This is the hamster wheel. So many people go against it. They talk smack to the cops. They talk smack at the courthouse. They talk smack to the teachers. They talk smack to the doctors. They talk smack to the PA about it. I mean, it's just everywhere, but it's not coming from that pure, positive co-creation with God. Let's fix this. It's coming from a judgment. It's coming from so collectively it's us against the system. And so I would get triggered, and it wasn't for the reason I thought. I was being triggered because I wasn't part of the solution. I was falling into the collective anger and hate. But it was my greatest awakening, because what I started to realize is that my family had been part of that collective, and they had been served up a huge injustice in that. But there's co-creatorship in that, and that's the collective thing. So it was not only personal karma, because I was doing it as well, which was much easier for me to overcome once I recognized it. Then it was ancestral karma, because for decades my family had went through a lot of traumatic experiences in that town. And then it was also collective karma, which is very deep. And this is why we can't understand fully why we're so irrationally triggered by the smallest thing. It could just literally be a cop looking at me crazy and I was off to the races. And this is the way it is in my hometown because of this collective thing. And we can look at the schematics and try to understand, but it really doesn't matter. It's just go in and heal it within yourself and teach other people to do it so that we can respond from a healthy way. Because I can sit here and give you the whole story of that town and you'd be like, wow, a lot of people have a right to be mad. And that's actually literally all over the planet because that was power to the institutions we gave, and now we're going power to the people. In the internal, bring back the divine feminine and divine masculine. Don't get it twisted. I'm not just, but we have to swing it to kind of get into balance again. Collectively, we've allowed this to happen. So we are part of the institutions too. And we've given our power to the institutions and they've taken it and we're one. So I hope you can understand on a personal karmic level, which just means patterns of energy that miss the mark of God. Because when we're in the energy of God, we create what we want. We have ancestral karma, which we talked about with the pen. Silly, but you got to pay attention to your triggers, no matter how silly you think they are. And then we have collective karma. And I want to say in this that you never want to really try to go into the collective karma. You have to wait for the scales to start tipping on people's personal and ancestral karma before we go to the flipping of the collective. I hope that makes sense. Because if you're not healed, I don't even want to, if you're not realigned away from those triggers into staying into that joy, peace, love, the higher echelon of the consciousness scale, you will, like I did when I went back, fall into the collective karma. And then I was hating everything because it's strong. But just keep in mind, once you get yourself healed and 51% of the karma in that area is healed, it will flip. Even the people that don't want to flip, they will flip. Or they'll move away and they won't be part of that reality. Okay, so that was like way woo-woo, but I hope you get what I'm saying. Fix the institutions that regulate us instead of fixing our own personal collective, ancestral collective, community collective. So I hope that helps because I really wanted to narrow down the whole point of that tangent is you're triggered by something you find very minute or irrational, and that's where you start, period. You're never upset for the reason you think you are, and that upset is something that needs to get healed no matter how minor you think it is because it is going to serve the bigger purpose as you move, right? I wanted to jump to the collective and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sinking in this. And then I went back to me. I'm working on healing that I don't care if I use all my ink. There's no poverty mindsets here anymore. They don't have to exist. Fear creates poverty. I need to move up the scale. Acceptance is the bridge. I accept that I feel this way. I'm not going to try to fix it. I'm not going to yell at ink manufacturers that ink's too expensive. It's old stuff. But that trigger, that wound, will heal us all. Okay, so I hope this helps. And if it does, please like, share, subscribe. And until next time.